So today we are going to go through some different aspects of OnCourse Classroom. We're going to go through your different classes and your groups. We're going to also talk about messaging, the calendars, the assignments, the lovely assignment bank, a rubric bank, and we're going to talk about some of the performance bands and the item analysis. And we're also going to talk about some of the student views and the glossary. Okay, so I'm going to do most of this live. I am not going to do this off of this presentation. So if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know in the chat. I will stop and answer any questions. If you want to share your screen, I do think I have it set up so you guys can share your screen. And so if you want to show me something or ask me a question, you're also adults, so please feel free to unmute yourselves and stop me to ask any questions or to slow me down. All right, so as you know, this is your OnCourse home screen. If you do not have the home screen that looks like this and you want the home screen that looks like this, if you have the old home screen where all of the information is up on the top, that is perfectly fine. Eventually, it is supposed to go to this on the left-hand side. But if you go to your name and then click on My Account, under the last part where it says Preview Features, New Global Navigation, if you want it like this, check it off and then click Save Preferences, and you would get that. Also underneath your My Account, no, that's not where I wanted. My Notifications, that's where it is. You do have a notification center now. I have my notification center basically turned to almost nothing, but in your notification center, you will receive notifications. You can click on the notification center, and this will alert you to different types of notifications that can be sent out. You can be sent out anytime an email or a notification, anytime you publish something, when students report a message, when students reply to you, when they make a message, anything as far as when I'm referred to in the contact log, you know, anything along those lines, you can customize your own notifications so that you can see what is happening. These will still pull. The last time I did it, or before I turned it off, was in September. So they won't keep giving you notifications unless you want notifications. Okay, that's the first little tidbit you don't already know about that. Okay, so if you go into your classroom, there are a bunch of different tabs that we can talk about. The first one is the Classes and Grouping tab. This has recently become my new best friend. I was not always a really strong proponent of this tab. I was like, I don't really need it. But then I started to notice that I needed to email students individually or email their parents. And sometimes, well, yes, you can use the gradebook option to send an email. Sometimes I want to send it directly from my own personal email. So if you expand one of your students, you will notice their email and their parents' email. So I have done a lot of copy this email address and throw it over into an email just to make it a little bit easier for myself. I had a project due today and I had several students who didn't do it. So I just went here, copied and pasted the two emails, put them in an email, and blasted out an email for myself. You will also see sometimes their Google Drive. So if I click, right now this student does not have a Google Drive. I can quickly add it, okay? But I do know that, no, one of these guys has it. Maybe Gmail. Yeah, okay. So this student has a Google email in there. So if I click on the Google it will take me into my shared folder for her. So this is anything that I have given her on Google and she has done. It also gives me a timestamp of it. It is a little bit easier for me. I don't really like the shared folders view on Google to kind of sort through their stuff. So if I'm looking for a specific student, I kind of go this way in order to get it. So that's, again, another personal little preference thing that's there. You can very easily add their Google file. So if I wanted to add his, you just copy the address, click on the edit button, paste it in there, and just update their Google address. We were supposed to have, OnCourse was supposed to do this for us. I'm still waiting to hear back from them about when that is actually going to happen. Another thing that I have also tried to utilize, especially this year being virtual, is the shared resources. So the shared resources, and I'll show you where it comes up on their file. Come on. Now, of course, it's like frozen in time. Yes, I do not want to take that right now. Thank you. I've already done this today. Here. So the shared resources, I am a big fan of this. I have put all of my back to school information as far as my expectations, my syllabus, any of the PowerPoints. I also have my office hours here. I have their WebEx meetings in here. So the students have constant access to this. This is my homeroom, so they have the pledge that they can click on when we're ready for it. Our quarterly dates, you know, anything that you need to put on that the students need access to. So to add a resource to your page, you can click on Add Resources. You can add it to multiple classes at the same time by using the drop-down menu. And then you can put it from, my God, I was like, oh my God, what is that? Is somebody's house on fire, Joe? Oh, geez, Louise.
You got to mute Koshinsky.
Oh. Oh. I was like, is that a fire alarm? So you could pick from your computer, any of your OnCourse documents. You can put something up from Google Drive or websites or Dropbox or OneDrive. Okay. Geez, Joe, I have a heart attack now.
No,
all right.
No.
You can create a group within your class. So if you are having a high and low, for example, if Paul has all of his trumpet players that he wants to put together, he can put them all together in one little group and then give them their own little assignments or make it easier. So let's say trumpets, and then I can select which kids would be in it, okay? And then once I click Create Group, this group will show up underneath, so I can just see their information, okay? This will come into play as we move further into messages and assignments. Does anyone have any questions about the classes and groups? Okay, fabulous. So messages, I did utilize this more last year than I did this year. I am utilizing it sometimes. My kids do like to message me and ask me, you know, can I, you know, it's not letting me join, or, you know, please admit me, things like that. We do use this sometimes. I do use it for posting answer keys and things of that nature. It is nice to have an open dialogue with them. I prefer them to do it through email, but you can turn this on and off. So if you go back to classes and groups, If I select all my students, or say I want to just select one of the students because I don't want them to have that ability, okay? Under actions, there is something that says allow messaging or block messaging. So I can block this message, and now you see that underneath her column, it says blocked. I know many teachers have blocked their whole class. So this would block the entire class if you click the little box up top. I don't mind having the messaging because I can always report it, and it is always, even if I hide a message. So for example, this message was hidden by her, okay? But I can click show anyway, and she wrote, I don't get any of this. I can unhide it. I can also report it. So you do have kind of complete control over the messaging. So that is kind of something that you do have control over within the messaging. Calendars, I'm still waiting for them to tweak this module in calendars. Calendars will populate your homework directly from your lesson plans. So that will automatically populate each day. And then, for example, let me go to a week so it's a little easier to day. Okay. Oh, I don't want a Saturday. Geez Louise. You can see that your homework checks, or like I've been using Do Now and homework checks, they do populate once you create the assignment, so the kids kind of know what's happening. For example, go to yesterday. My kids did have a project that was due yesterday that I spoke about. This has been up on their calendar since the beginning, since I created that assignment. So it is nice for long-term assignments for them to use. I feel like they don't utilize this a lot, but it is there for you. My biggest problem with the calendar is that when you create it, you can only select one class at a time. So if you have 5 or 6 classes, it is going to prompt you to do it every single time. So that's kind of my negative about it, is that you would have to do it multiple times, and there is no way to copy and paste it. So this is kind of one of the things that I have requested from OnCourse that they take a look at, because it is a little bit non-user friendly. I do like that they have a calendar option for those people who like to look at it. But for me, it is just not my cup of tea. You can turn calendars on and off by clicking on them. It grays them out. And then it brings them back. Of course, now it's completely. So if I turned off my calendar where the homework is, you know, I can isolate and just look at the one group. This group, I did start making my quarterly review. So this would come up once it's in my calendar because I've already started to make it. You notice it's not in any other of the classes because I haven't finished creating it. So it's just in the one class. But yeah, so that's the calendar view. Assignments. So this is the bulk and the meat and potatoes of kind of what is happening here. So if I go to create a new assignment, and we'll talk about the ones that have already been returned and things of that nature. Okay. Like we talked about, you can, most of the time you are going to give it to everyone, but if you created that group, if you use the click and you use the drop down, right here, it's going to give me just the trumpets. So that small group of people that I put in the beginning, I would be able to just give it to that one group. Okay. You can also individually add people. Okay, I have done this for, say, like a makeup quiz or a makeup test. I just gave it to the 2 or 3 kids that I needed to have it. And then it is not seen in anybody else's OnCourse. It is only seen on those specific students, which is kind of nice. Generally, though, I keep it to everybody. I forgot to tell this class. So let's use this class. And I'm going stop doing that. Technology. I'm going to use Denny and Ashley so I can send them a message. Okay. So on the left-hand side, it will be, when you first create an assignment, it'll be all of the information that you want to give them. So I'm going to call this sample just so that my students don't get freaked out. Your due date, it always has to be a calendar date. I can change it until Friday if I want. It does ask you for a time frame. The time frame is every 15 minutes, with the exception of midnight, the only one it allows you to do at 11:59. This is my new personal favorite, the due date options. I do like to reject late submissions, especially for tests and quizzes, or like my project. Anything that is heavily graded, I do reject the late submission, because if you don't have it in on time, then you don't get to turn it in at all. So that is something that we have started to use, is rejecting the late submissions. If you're doing something that you just kind of want to put out there, but you don't need to get it back, you can use no submission. You can not mark it late and have them turn it in whenever. You can also schedule your assignment to go out at a certain time and a certain date. So for example, I will schedule this to go out on the 6th, and notice that it automatically put it a minute prior. It will not work if you schedule it for a date earlier than the due date. You will get some crazy messages going from you. So I can schedule this, say, for 8 a.m. on the 6th. Something that has come up recently with a couple people is, well, I want to give back their grades, but I don't want them to see the assignment, okay? Or I want them to see the assignment to see what they did wrong. That is the allow students to review returned assignments. There are some people who are going to give their quarterly via OnCourse. And I personally do not want my students to see my quarterly after they have taken it. I just would like to give them the grade. So I would unclick the allow students to view returned assessment. At this time, there is kind of no real reason to have the print and online version. You can just do print only. Online only. Online only will give you the most amount of questions types that the system holds. If you do online and print, it will limit your test questions or your assignment questions to a few things like multiple choice and true, false, and short answer. Okay. You can print your test questions even if you make it as an online test. And I will show you how to do that. The scoring is up to you. I am someone who scores everything out of 100, so that is my max. If you're someone who does everything, if you're a weights points person, and some of your assignments are 40 points and some of your assignments are 10 points, all you would have to do is change your high score here. You can use a check mark to score. Please be careful when you do use a check mark to score. The check mark gives you 3 options and only 3 options. You can leave it blank and it will not be graded. You can put a check in, which will give them 100, or an X, which will give them a 0. There is no options for check plus or check minus or any other things in between. Those are the 3 things that will give you. It'll give you a blank, a 0, or 100. So we have found that some people have run into a little bit of trouble with this one. Okay. My personal favorite is adding it directly to the gradebook. So once I click add to gradebook, I have to select which marking period I would like it to be in, and I have to select its category. So let's put it here. Okay. You can put this in as what's called a non-calculated assignment, which again will not calculate it towards your final average. You can include the due date. That is a personal preference. Much like the messages and the resources, you can upload from any of these things. Okay. I will tell you, if you are using Google Drive, it will upload from Google Drive as long as it is not a form. It uploads documents and spreadsheets and slides. But if you want to give your students a Google form, you would have to send it as a web link and then have them complete it. If you do use a Google form and you take it as a quiz grade, Google Forms will not put the correct answer into OnCourse. You still have to manually do that, okay? Because it is not calculating it as a quiz or a test grade, okay? So that is one caveat to that. So if you have all of your tests and quizzes on Google Forms, you can use them and administer them via OnCourse, but the grades will not transfer directly in. So student instructions, this is what the students are going to see when they immediately open their OnCourse assessment. This is what they will see when they see the assignment. For the most part, this is where I kind of put some simple directions and do the best you can. Okay. From this page right here, when you upload a PDF or even a Google Doc, yeah, we'll put this. You will notice there's two different options for uploading a file. You can upload it via Kami, however you want to say it, and allow the students to work directly on it. You will see what it will look like. Or you can upload it as a resource only. You will notice that this changed from the little tiny purplish pencil to now a red PDF, okay? If I'm going to put it as a Kami workflow, you will see it like this, as will the students. This will allow them to write or type directly onto the assignment that you are giving out. The same thing would happen with Google. So if I select this, it will give you these sharing document settings, okay? So this has recently changed. This has recently updated from Google. This does allow for students to collaborate. They can edit the same file collaboratively. You can have them request access, which at this point, if you're sending it to them, why would you want them to request access? But, you know, it could be a resource only where they would only be able to view it, or they would each get their own template copy. This is similar to Google Classroom, where they would each have to you can set it up so that it each prompts them to make a copy. So I generally leave it in template mode, and it applies the permissions for me. So you can see that right here, this is called a Google Drive workflow, okay? If I wanted them to be a resource, this is a resource only. You'll notice that it looks different. It has the same Google Drive, but the whole thing is now blue. So you can kind of see the difference visually as to which one it is. If I wanted to do a web link, again, you would put the URL, copy and paste it. So copy link. So here I would copy the link and then I would write a little blurb about it. And so the students can see that it says presentation and that it is a web link. All right. So these would, if I clicked save assignment, these you could see would stay right here. If I then wanted to get rid of something, you will see it has a line through it now. If I click save assignment again, it just automatically goes away. Up here, you do have full editing rights. You can also insert emojis and anything of that nature that you want to make it a little more fun and special. You can also format it to different blocks and different things like that. I keep my formatting pretty basic, but that's me. Under the assessment tab, this is where you are creating the actual on-course assessment. This is where the students will go in and answer any questions. So right now, if I were to change this, and I have to publish it first, which I don't want to do. Okay, so I just want to show you an example of what this kind of looks like. So you can always check to see what your kids can see, by the way. This is like, I'm jumping ahead to the end of the presentation. But if you go to Gradebook and then you go to OnCourse Connect, on the left-hand side, you will see all of the schools. Well, you'll see your school. And then you will see your students' names. So if you click on a student name, this is exactly what they see when they log into OnCourse. So you'll see that, like, for me, tomorrow this group work assignment is due. That project that I was talking about was originally down here for my kids until we got into this week. And then it kind of starts to creep up when it's due. These are all the class resources that I talked about in the middle. So if they can click on this and then they can download it and see it, the messages. But this is something, so this was their project that was due, but it is a Google workflow. So you'll see that it was turned in, okay? They can attach files or anything, and they can also leave a message. It does show you their turned in history when they turned it in. Okay, so versus something like this, where this is a homework check where there was no files added to it, but the assignment is here. So they're a little bit different view. The group work is something similar. So yeah, so these are all the CAMIs. This is a Google form and things of that nature. Okay. So to get to the assignment and to make the actual assignment portion of it, so there are a few things that you need to do just to get it started. The first thing you need to do is click on Add Item. And when you add an item, you'll see on the left-hand side, it says Empty Item, and then it says Add New. If you click on Add New, this brings you to all the different types of questions that are available through OnCourse. They have updated some of these. The PowerPoint should, or the Google Slides is pretty up to date, but they do always make changes. So there is a ton of different options here. They have commonly used all the way down to chemistry. They have math. they have written and recorded. You can ask them to make a video recording and or an audio recording of their information that you need. For right now, I'm going to use a true-false question just because it's easier. And I'm going to say, is today Tuesday? Okay. You can also embed pictures, and for those math people in the room, you can embed math text. You can embed tables or special characters. You can do some simple features, like you can put a video from YouTube in here. They do have some basic calculators, things of that nature. You can put a audio button in there. So there are some things that you can add to it. Again, this has full text support in there. Once you create your question, you have to scroll down and you select your correct answers. Today is Tuesday. I can shuffle my options, meaning they would switch back and forth. And then there is a button that says more options. And now each question has its own multiple options for more options. You can add a check answer button, which I have done in the past, which is very useful. For here, it is pretty simple, straightforward, but you can do a partial match per response. So if you're asking for multiple parts of a question, you can give them multiple points for each part. You can also give them a minimum number of points if they attempt it. There is different options as far as the layout, and this is, again, personal preference. So the block is what you see where it's the A and the B. If I change this to standard, it turns into the two little radio buttons on the left-hand side. I can move them vertically. I can have them viewed horizontally. Let's say I have two columns. So now the true false is next to each other. You can also have the radio button underneath. So this would look like true and false with the radio buttons underneath. You can get acknowledgements and things of that nature. I can preview what it looks like. It will show the correct answer. And if you click on the correct answer, you will also see a green 1 out of 1, meaning this question is 1 point. And since I answered it correctly, it's giving me 1 point. I'm going to save this one. Now, you can continue to ask more questions on the same page, or you can add a new page. So if I wanted to say, ask a follow-up question to, is today Tuesday, I could just click the plus sign, and then let's say I wanted a close with text. Okay, and all this is kind of a fill in the blank. Why is today important? Okay. And say I want to say it's election day. Now you notice I'm typing in day, but it's not allowing me to add any more letters. If I go under more options, I can change the maximum character length to say 20. And now I can put in that it's election day. Here is where the scoring type does change. Okay, if I want them the exact wording, it can be case sensitive. For the most part here, I can also take it out so that I'm not having them fill into the exact box. They're just kind of writing it. Come on. Now you don't want to. Now you don't want to work with me. That's not supposed to happen. Okay. I can also type in here. So instead of it saying it's election day, I can say today is, and then they can fill in election day. You can correct their and make it a sentence. It'll put a period at the end for you. Okay. And once again, if I preview it, it's going to show me just this question. Once I save it, you will see that the two questions are now viewed together. Okay. If I want to add the next page or the next screen that the students would see, I could go on the left-hand side and click on Add Item. If I want this to be the exact same question, again, maybe change some wording, I'm going to right-click and click on Duplicate Item. This is a new feature that OnCourse just added this school year. So now I have the same question type twice, and I can edit, say, the second one to say, is tomorrow Thursday? Okay. Again, I'm going to change it so the correct answer is false. Hit Save Assignment. And now my first page is saying, is today Tuesday? My second page is saying, is tomorrow Thursday? And what I mean by the screens is, so this is the opening screen. So all I did was hit preview. Once you hit start, you can see that I have two different pages here. I have page 1 and page 2. So I can see that this question was asked first, and then my next question was asked. Okay. There are also questions in what is called the item bank. So the item bank, we do not have anything into the district item bank, but we do have from OnCourse's partner Learnosity. They have different questions under the KDS Inspect group. You can change it to your different standards that you're using. Excuse me. If you're teaching language arts for 9th and 10th grade, excuse me, and say I want to pull all the questions that are for this standard. Okay, I can click on the standard. And now it is giving me all the different questions that are previously loaded into their system. I can choose based on question type. So I can do a drop down. I can do a plain essay. I can also choose on depth of knowledge. So do I want strategic thinking or skill concept? So that will kind of eliminate some of your choices here. Not every standard has questions, but most standards do. It depends on your grade level and your subject matter. Okay. So for example, you can also use your favorited. So let's say New Jersey Algebra is one of my ones that are my favorites. I can pick from this group right here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little pause. I am going to kind of give you guys some time to play around in the assignments, create an assignment if you'd like. I'm going to stay here and answer any questions, but we'll meet back in, let's say, 10 minutes. Okay. So one of the last things I want to share and show you guys is I want to show you the item analysis. So if you are in an assignment that you have given, you can do this for a returned assignment or an active assignment. The difference, obviously, these are my active assignments that I have not yet graded. I only have 2 submissions. My kids, again, you can see that it's not due till November 4th, but I do have 2 kids that have submitted it. If you get these red little dots on the side, it's just giving you an indication that there was either multiple submissions or they submitted it after I graded it, even though I haven't graded it. If you just click on the red dot, it will go away. When you do click on a submission, so these were some of the things that I gave my kids in Kami. So you'll notice this is the this is a PDF that I gave my students, and they did have to edit it in Kami. So you can see she was making marks when she was grading. She did type in. This is, if I click on it, it's giving me who did it. I'm actually just hovering. I'm not even clicking. You can see that she did try to graph. They do have some shapes and things of that nature on the left-hand side. And then the students can type or write in, depending on the student, it will show you different things. But when you look at the submissions, if you click down on the submission, it will give you multiple options. So this had multiple tiers to it, so it will give you that. And then it will also give you something that says assessment. So assessment is kind of those questions that we were asking in OnCourse prior. So she has answered all of these correct, that she completed all of her things. So it's giving her 100 out of 100. If you have anything that would be short answer, or for example, oh, seriously, come on. Okay. So this is the test that was hers. You will notice that here I did some fill in the blanks. These were drag and drops, so it will always give you the correct answers underneath it. You do have ultimate control over this number, so I can give her more points or less points. This one is not actually in the same order as what's on the right-hand side, because I asked it to shuffle the order, and I'll show you guys where that is. But one of the things that I have started asking my kids to do is I ask my kids to upload their work. This is one of the options, and they can take a picture directly from their computer and put it right into their document, which is extremely helpful. So if you are someone who needs to see the work, again, this is an example of a drag and drop. Let me see, change that, you can see it a little better. Yeah, okay. And I just gave them two options, function or not a function, and they had to drag and drop it in there. I can add feedback per question. You know, I can say, great job, you did a wonderful job. I can also make a comment on the assignment, right over here. And then this would be their grade. Now, if I were to look at my whole class, and let's pull up this homework check. Does it have more than one thing? I will pull up the quiz. I know this has more than one. Okay. There are a bunch of different things that you can do here under the tools. You can view access codes. So access codes are given out to the students to perform in a secure setting. They do have a new option where you can email. So you can email your students their access codes. They would have to go to their email, click on the link that is provided, and it would take it to a secure web page in order for you to do this. You can open in the PDF and give them each a little access code with the assignment code on it. You can, during when they are taking it, and if they take it through the assessment, the access code, you can watch them take it, and you can see kind of how they're doing. You can see the progress. So this would open. Their statuses would be generally green, and what number, if they're active or not, and what number they are on. The other thing that you can do is once you create it, you can add it to an assignment bank, or you can duplicate it. Adding it to assignment banks keeps the assessment for year to year. So if I were to go to my assignment bank, these are the things I have for my chapter 3. So under your own name, you can add an assignment. You can create your assignment directly from here. Okay, on the left-hand side, excuse me, you can add a new folder and things of that nature. Done. Okay. If I want to share my assignments, you cannot share from the assignment screen. All right, you do have to put it into your assignment bank and share it. I have found that this can be cranky. So what I think is the best way to do it is if you're going to share your assignments, and you can see that I have a lot of people that have shared with me over here. But if I want to share my assignments, generally I will share a whole folder or my whole box as myself. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and go to permissions. Generally, you are going to pull from permissions out of the user group. And let's say I'm going to share this with Mrs. Drabeck. I can type in the first couple letters of her last name, and then I'm going to click the plus sign next to her name. Here, I can give her different options. Full, writing ability, writing without deleting, creating only, or reading. I've had the most success with full. Again, sometimes this can be cranky. And once you do that, you want to click on apply settings and then make sure you apply the settings to all of the child folders. And then click OK. Once I close this out, I want to go back over to my name. I'm going to right click and click on folder options. I'm going to make sure this is checked off. Click Save Changes. I always click on child folders, giving them access to everything that is underneath my name, and then hitting OK. Now, I won't see Mrs. Drabeck's or Mary Beth's name over here because she's not sharing with me. These people are currently sharing with me. I can sharing with different people. Okay. I can also revoke the permissions. So say you're sharing with one person for 1 year and then you're not the next year. I can click on the red little dot and that will remove access from that teacher. Okay. I know this has come up a lot with the sharing with quarterlies. So I will show you also where that information is held. If you go back to assignments, and let's go here. The one thing I want to show you also is you can view the assessment report. Now you can put standards on each of your assignments or you don't have to. But the assessment report kind of goes through the data of your assignment, how people are doing based on their demographics. But you can also do what's called an item analysis. And you can filter this. You can pick which columns that you want or don't want. So I don't really care. I know I'm the only teacher. I know what the score is. Okay. This is going to tell me how many points they had out of 100. I can do it in ascending or descending order. And you'll notice that here in my item analysis, I have green and red for obviously what they got correct and what they got wrong. You will also know that up on the top, it says what question number it is, okay, and what question type. If I click on the question, it will tell me what the question was and so what am I looking at? Okay, what question am I looking at? So it's just a visual way. You can see down at the bottom also their averages. Okay, so maybe I need to relook at some of these questions, for the future. Why didn't they get this question here? This graphing question, why did they get this wrong? Okay, use the prior answers. Okay, well, what happened prior that the class got a 42% on this one question? Okay. Assignment bank. You can use a rubric. You can add your own rubric and change your own rubric. Whatever you want to put in. I kind of was playing around with this one. The performance bands, again, generally you're not going to change the performance bands, but you can change the performance bands if you'd like. And again, this goes to proficient, advanced, basic, below basic, and if they didn't get it wrong. So if you're kind of grading on scale, that would be there. You can also, if you click on your work and you click on actions, there's different options here. If you have a student that is absent and you'd like to block them from the assignment, you can select a couple students, click actions and block assignment. They will not be able to get into the assignment until you allow them or unblock them. Let me unblock these guys. You can also remove or exempt lateness. This button, the assessment button, the reopen the assessment button, has been very critical to me recently. I've been allowing students to finish or make up in, say, office hours, so you can reopen it. The other thing was the timing and stuff. So next to your assignment bank, you have something that's called details. And in the details portion, this is where you can time your students. You can keep them at a certain time. So for quarterlies, if you only have an hour for them to take the quarterly, you can change this assessment time to 60 minutes. You can decide whether or not you want this to be resumed. So if you're taking it over 1 day or 2 days, you can allow them to resume once they are back in it. It does give them a pause button, and there is something called the limit type. So the limit type on a soft limit, if they go over the 60 minutes, it will allow them to keep working. If you have a hard limit of 60 minutes, at the 60-minute mark, it will shut down the quiz or the assessment, and you will not be able to do it beyond that. There are also some navigation things. Generally, I kind of don't really play around with that, but you can take a look in there. And the last thing is configuration. I do this probably a lot. Right here, there's something that says shuffle item order. So I turn this on, and now none of my kids will be, the question numbers will be randomly generated. Okay, so each test is a little bit different based on the computer randomly selecting the order of the assignment. Okay, when you're done, you would click save. When you are ready to publish this assignment, so you can have multiple assignments in here waiting and ready to go, you would click on the assignment and click on publish assignment. The students will only see it when you click on publish assignment. Once you publish an assignment, you cannot edit the assignment. The actual questions and or point values, you can edit the original homepage, but you cannot edit the questions that you have previously asked. Okay. Does anyone have any questions or anything that they would like me to go over? So when you auto grade, will they see the grade automatically? So yes and no. So they see that their grade has changed, but the only time that they will see the grade in their grade book is when you click this return assess assignment and publish grades. So for example, this retake. So this is an example of when I just gave it to a couple people. So these students will see this grade now that it is returned. But if I were to grade like this one where they have their group work, these two students don't know that they got 100 and a 40 because I didn't return the assignment yet. But unfortunately, it is already changed in my grade book. So some of my kids, when like I'm in the middle of grading their tests, they'll be like, well, my average changed, but I don't know why. Well, because I haven't hit the return and publish yet. So that's kind of why. Great question. Anybody else, any questions? Any of the information that I gave you guys today, and I will send out the PowerPoint. Actually, I'll put it in the chat if you'd like to make a copy of it. Share. So that is the basic presentation. It goes through, like I said, a little bit more in detail. It does go through the question types. Okay, so all the different commonly used, all the multiple choice that you have, what you can do with written and recorded and highlighting. It does go into a little bit more detail on some of those things. So it's something for you to use and look back on if you'd like it. But the other thing that is pretty new is we do have this lovely YouTube channel that I have been doing. So as students turn in or any putting an external link, anything that deals with OnCourse that someone or multiple people have asked me about, I've been trying to make little training videos or reminder videos of how to do. So everybody has a YouTube channel, or you should, but there are different things with OnCourse Classroom. There's the student view. There is a second part to this somewhere in here. Oh, here it is. So these are all videos made by me. If you have something you would like me to make on the video, please let me know, and I'll be happy to make a video and publish it. But that is something that is there for you guys. I also just put in the chat the attendance. If you guys could fill out that second Google Doc, that is for your attendance that you attended, and you get credit for being here today. I don't have anything else. But if you, let me redo that for Pereira. If you have any questions, I will be on for the next 15 minutes. If you don't have any questions, have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks for spending the time with me, guys. I hope you learned a little something. And have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, Victoria. Appreciate your knowledge.
Oh, you're welcome.
Great job.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for coming.
Bye now.
Thanks, Vic.
Bye.
Great job as usual, Vicki.
Thank you, Joseph.
I'll be talking to you.
Of course you will.
Vic, I got a quick question once everybody says goodbye.
Novak. Hey, Novak.
What's going on?
Nothing. What's up?
Not saying your goodbyes. I didn't want to interrupt anybody. Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
All right. I started to like second marking period, I have health. So I just had phys ed first marking period. I've been using this, but now I'm going to be adding more assignments. We have guided reading worksheets that we give out when we're in school for each chapter and things like that. So I didn't realize that I can probably scan those sheets, and then when they save via scan and I upload it, it's automatically in Cami, so they'll be able to type right into it.
Yep.
All right, because I started to make them each individual assessments and just type in the questions, but that obviously did a lot more work than I have to. I could just scan each individual document, and when it comes up, it's Cami, and they can type right into it then.
Yep. And then just when you review it, Mike, you would just look at their PDF and like kind of visually, and then you can give them a grade in the corner.
Yeah. So if I wanted to grade automatically, then I would type it in as an assessment just so it automatically grades.
Correct.
Okay. I gotcha.
Yep.
That works. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Talk to you later.
Bye. Oh. What do you think, Joey G? Did I do a good job?
Outstanding. You know what? Every time I come to one of these, everything starts falling into place. It looks like it's getting like, and then I can add on to it besides. And I said, oh my God, this is like so cool, this stuff now. What I actually did was the quarterly, I have Stunads. So what I did was I went to the message board, put in the quarterly, and it was like so easy saying, okay, kids, we go into our period 1 class, and you will see over there, it says message. Click that, and that's going to be your quarterly. Just write down the answers and send it over to me, and I'm happy.
There you go.
It was a piece of cake. Now, let me tell you, I don't know if you got this yet, but if you have the Cisco camera in your room, okay, people complained about glare that they were getting. If you were to show something with the Epson projector,
Okay.
and it was like bouncing off, and if you looked at the screen that the kids were looking at, it was white. So I said, wait a minute. I went and got poster board, because I'm in charge of all that crap. Put a couple sheets together, put it up on the board where the Cisco unit is showing, the glare's gone.
Okay. Oh, because it's not shiny, because there's no.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All I used was like 2 strips of Scotch tape. I put it up with push pins, and I'm in business.
There you go.
So it was like, I felt like Lieutenant Scott of the Starship Enterprise. I was able to do this. I mean, it was like pretty cool, this stuff, doing it. But,
Good job, Joe.
Good job again.